I think for Google going in China, just for one example, the expectations going in was that the search engine was going to work the same that it worked in the United States. That the play was to offer search in a local version of search within China, Chinese language, run by 600 people in China, so that it would be more attuned to the needs of the Chinese population, have a better relationship with regulators and the censoring that goes on within China. And that would be the value that it added. But I'd say that it quickly became apparent, say within a year or two, that there was much more than that going on. It had different impacts than were expected. So one of the impacts was that there were now multiple competitors, and so there could be different options for Chinese citizens, and it ended up being extremely important. The other was that people began to realize they were being censored. And so Google being in China and censoring, and that being an issue, just the fact that we started talking about whether or not Google should be censored in China, became apparent to the Chinese citizens. And so it became a catalyst for discussions about censorship in China, and which made their way back to the Chinese citizens. So they almost became a catalyst in themselves and a talking point. Now, not necessarily good catalysts within the United States. They were brought before Congress and asked to answer questions about their relationship with China or their product in China, along with Microsoft, Yahoo, and Cisco. But within China, it also created a conversation about censorship. It also allowed the citizens, because they would find censored material just by going around whatever blocks were there. So citizens quickly became aware of different ways to hack around the censors, available only really through the search engine. So they would search for certain websites and they would have code names for them. So it might be a play on words that would go around the Chinese censors, and they were able to access information that was meant to be blocked. And this happened regularly. Now we might argue that it was better accessed by having Google.cn there. And so they became an alternative way to get to censored material in a much different way than they would be used as a search engine here in the United States. The alternative would be to leave, and they wouldn't be in China, but that would limit the options then for the Chinese citizens as to alternatives to get to their information, and more alternatives the better. One of the reasons why Twitter is so helpful in Iran is the fact that there's no central server to take down. And so it becomes an amorphous game of the censors trying to find where the information is and shut down services. But you can access Twitter from multiple locations. It's not just one. And so it makes it more difficult. The multiple points of contact makes it more difficult for censors to shut something down. In some ways, you can see Google CN working with the alternative search engines within China as almost an alternative points of contact to the information. And that's how they work best, is in tandem with their competitors. Whereas I'm certain Google doesn't think about their competitors working together when it comes to the United States. So it's different when it comes to China, and they play a different role there.